Well, let's get into some more preview and prediction talk. Let's go into Noche UFC, aka UFC 306. As always, if you've watched the show in the past, you know we're not gonna go through all the fights and everything. We're gonna just focus on the biggest fights. And this card's it's top heavy. There's some solid fighters on the beginning of the main card and the prelims, but the top 3 fights are actually very good fights. And that is Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopez, Alexa Grasso defending her title against Valentina Shevchenko in a rematch, and of course one of the fights I've been most looking forward to in the second half of this year and just 2024 in general. Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili. First, let's get into Ortega Diego Lopes. As of now, Lopes is a favorite, which says a lot about where Ortega has gone in his career. Nothing against, he's still a good fighter, but not that highly touted kind of elite of the featherweight division like he used to be. Ortega's 2-2 in his last 4 fights in 2020, though he did beat Yair Rodriguez in a rematch, big win. He beat Korean Zombie in one of those 2 wins. On the flip side, Diego Lopes, after getting handed an absolutely tough situation of being short notice versus Movsar Evloev, has won 4 all finishes, and the only one that wasn't a finish was against Dan Ige, who's traditionally a very tough guy to kind of finish, and he still beat him soundly. A fighter that I've been a fan of ever since he came up. This guy can finish it on the feet. He can finish it on the ground. Very interesting. I don't think it's a fight like, oh, you get it to a ground. He's overmatched by Ortega. How do you see this fight playing out? What's your prediction?
Man, this is one I honestly just don't know what to expect. I mean, we don't see enough of Brian Ortega to have a real assessment of what he has to offer. And the thing about Brian Ortega is, like, he always looks like he's one of 2 people. Either one, he is this world beater that just buzzsaws through whoever's in front of him, or he's a guy who's too tough for his own good and gets dinged and bopped upside the head till there's no end. And even in a lot of his wins, he's gotten dinged and bopped upside the head enough to where you question, how long can this keep going? I'm sort of leaning toward Diego Lopez kind of pushing him over the edge and this kind of being the end of Brian Ortega as we know him. So I like Lopez to get a finish here. I'm thinking 3rd round TKO.
Yeah, I'm going the same direction. I think it'll be on the feet. He'll prove that he's more than capable enough to avoid submission, or a difficult situation on the ground. I think he's got big power in his hands. We saw it in a lot of his fights in the UFC so far. And it just feels like that kind of classic changing of the guard, like Ilya Topuria and Volkanovski was. Volkanovski and Ortega are still very good fighters, but their time came and it's kind of passing out at the back end of the career. So that's what it feels like. Diego Lopez is the next evolution. He's the next big star of the division.
You know, and I also think too, it means a lot to me that the UFC rebooked this fight. Because like when this fight fell apart a few months back, I know you and we talked, as you know, I always mention on the show, like during the fights, we're always texting each other and giving our hot takes and whatnot. And we both were like, yeah, let's just not revisit Ortega versus Lopez. The MMA gods have spoken. They don't want this fight to take place for whatever reason. Let's just leave it alone. Ortega clearly might have trouble making the weight, and let Lopez just go off of this win and move forward with his career. The UFC rebooking this means they really, really want this to happen, if you ask me.
Yeah.
And I think if they're seeing the greatness in Lopez that a lot of people are seeing, maybe they've figured that Ortega is the right stepping stone for that. They got to rebook this for a reason, man. That's another thing that makes me think that Lopez is walking away with a victory here.
Yeah, it's classic UFC booking for the next big fighter. Moving on, talking about another does feel in a way like a changing regards. Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko. Alexa's a slight favorite going into this fight. Grasso won the first one by submission late in the fight, of a fight that a lot of people thought she was probably losing, which is just the magic of a sport like MMA. She's saw a 5-fight win streak, though she hasn't fought in 18 months. That is also the case for Valentina Shevchenko. Both of them haven't fought in 18 months because the fight was booked for a few months ago, fell through, whatever reasons. Shevchenko, though, is 36, but 9-fight winning streak heading into this before she lost to Grasso. I'm a huge Shevchenko fan, love Bullet. I think she's one of the greatest female fighters of all time, one of the great fighters of this last generation, male or female, but everything comes to an end. And on paper, it's like, oh, she won 9 straight. She was winning that fight late. She's still good. I just don't like the combination of 36 18 months off against a fighter that is one of the better fighters in the division that was able to get her, mistake or not. It just feels like what we've seen so many times where a fighter just can be great for so long, and then they hit a wall against the elites, and it just all falls apart. I think I'm gonna go with Grasso by this. I'll go unanimous decision. It'll be a close fight. Wouldn't be surprised if it comes down to the final round and it ends up, whoever gets that 5th round is going to get it. But yeah, I'm going to go Grasso, unanimous decision, and retaining the women's flyweight title. How do you see this fight going?
I've got Grasso winning this by decision as well. I think that if anything, this fight is a good example of why the Ultimate Fighter just needs to die off. Like just let the show die off. Like it sucks. Like it's just not a good product anymore. It hasn't been a good product for like 10, 15 years at this point. Just let it go. Let it go out to pasture. I mean, this was one. I think the UFC is always too quick to pull the trigger on a trilogy fight. But it's especially weird to have a trilogy fight where like these two have not seen anyone but each other, and so much time has taken place between every fight. The Ultimate Fighter just feels like this huge like distraction in the middle of all this that no one seems to really care about. So whatever luster this fight could have had, whatever luster this trilogy fight might have possibly had, not that I'm going to say that there was much, but whatever was there is gone now. It's gone. This fight feels like a relic of the past to me, despite the fact that Alexa Grasso is very, very much so the current flyweight champion. It doesn't feel like a current day event. I don't know. It's just weird, man. The Ultimate Fighter just sucks. Get rid of the show. That being said, Grasso won the first fight in sort of a flukish manner. I don't want to put any disrespect on her win, but it was sort of a flukish manner. She was clearly losing. She found a quick opportunity, seized it, got the title after the submission. The second fight, she handled Shevchenko far better throughout the duration.
Yeah.
I think the younger fighter that had more room to improve is going to do better for the third time against the veteran who is sort of aging out of that spot. So feels like this should have happened already, right?
Yeah, like she was losing the first one, but got her second fight. She didn't lose. She almost won a split decision. Yeah, it just feels like the momentum is heading in her direction.
Yeah.
Speaking of momentum, I mean the main event. I love this fight. Two fighters that are red hot with that, and I love this fight because it's not a fight like we're getting in middleweight soon with Alex Bajeda and a Khalil Roundtree that just has no business happening, and Roundtree does not need to be fighting for title. These are the two best bantamweights on the planet right now. These are the two. Merab has completely proved that Sean O'Malley is a superstar. Now, going into this fight, Sean O'Malley is actually an underdog. It's been a little bit since he's been an underdog. I think I'm not sure. Maybe he was against Aljo.
Against Jan. Well, actually, no. Against Aljo, he should have been the underdog. I'm pretty certain he was.
But even that, he was probably close. So he's won 7 of his last 8. Last wins against Marlon Vera, just dominant. Stopped Aljo in his last 2 fights. Merab Dvalishvili, 10-fight win streak. Last few wins, Cejudo, Jan, Aldo, Hall of Fame. Those, I mean, all great. But you can say, oh, well, Aldo's all that, whatever. Aldo's still good. A few months ago, he came out of retirement, still look good. And Peter Yan, we both are huge Peter Yan fans, and Cejudo's fantastic. So even before I'll get to that after we do our picks. This is such a good fight. Classic striker versus grappler kind of thing. But just such like Sean was like that next level of kind of fighter, a lot like Israel Adesanya in terms of a striker. And then Merab is just his name, the machine, is so perfect. He's a grappling machine. His relentless effort, tenacity is second to none. This is such a tough one for me to pick. How do you see this one going?
Man, I'm thinking I'm going to be in the minority here, but I'm picking Sean O'Malley to win this one.
Okay.
Merab Dvalishvili is certainly second, if not the best bantamweight in the world, but I think the styles don't match up very well for him. The game plan against Sean O'Malley, especially for someone with the skill set of Merab, seems very simple, right? To just crowd him, try to take him down, smother him, and just make it a really slow pace, sort of grinding fight. But I don't like the quality of Merab's takedowns against O'Malley. against the footwork, against his just takedown defense against the cage, his ability to sort of get underhooks and whizzer and whatnot. I don't like it because Merab is a guy who seems to spam takedowns. Like it's more like cardio as a weapon, and as effective as that can be, it's harder to enact if you've got more range that you've got to fight through, and you've got such a dangerous striker on the other end of that. I think Merab gets pieced up on his way to put hands on O'Malley in order to do any of this. And the fact that he's probably not going to do this with the most sophisticated setups without like this really clinical wrestling approach means he's just going to be open to more punishment. I think this goes really bad for Merab.
Yeah, it's a tough one for me to pick. I'd like to, I just feel like Merab is going to win, and usually the idea would be, oh, okay, he's going against a elite striker. This is a guy who will know how to see it coming. But I mean, that's what he's faced. He fought Peter Yan. There's not much better than that. He fought Jose Aldo. It's not much better than that. Even Cejudo is a very smart striker who also blends his wrestling and striking well. It's hard for me to get past. Like, he's passed all the tests. I know Sean O'Malley is elite, and yeah, I'll be rooting for Sean O'Malley. I like him as a fighter, what he brings to the sport, but even he still is unproven that he can definitely, because he got Aljo out there early. He did some good things against Aljo in terms of grappling, but I feel like his grappling still unproven. This is the fight, though. This is the fight where if he can get past Merab, and after beating Aljo too, like the question of, oh, well, maybe a grappler can get to him. Yeah, maybe, but they try and they fail. Like, this is the moment where it's like he goes from being a popular fighter to a legit fighter, maybe one of the best pound for pound. I'm gonna pick Merab. I think, especially if it gets long, the longer the fight goes, I wouldn't be surprised. It's in his favor because he's just a cardio machine. So I'm gonna go Merab. I think he can. I can see him get like a 4th round submission, just relentless. He's double tough. Even if he gets hit, he seems to battle through everything. But going to the point of if Sean wins this fight, what that means for him as a fighter. But either way, whoever wins this fight, because this is 2 elite fighters, is the winner of this fight, be it O'Malley beats an elite bantamweight, the biggest challenge in the world in his division, and passes that hurdle, or Merab adds Sean O'Malley to now an 11-fight win streak after beating Cejudo. Like, is either one of them should be considered top 3 pound for pound on the planet after this fight? They win.
Maybe not top 3, maybe top 5.
So who is better than them in the top 3? Because I'll put Pereira in front of them.
Yeah, Pereira,
I'll put Islam in front of them. But who else is in front of them then? That's the question.
Point. Yeah, that's a good point. Like, I think I might have spoke like too soon before I really thought about it.
Let's go into this.
I want Dana White to come through the door in one of our houses right now and yell at us about how John Jones is number 1. That's what I want now. That's the only thing that makes sense. Dude.
Well, his on you can go to our UFC rankings on Ringside. The setup is we have Pereira and Islam at the top. Now, these are the guys that have, other than John, Ilya Taporia, we got Volk Aslafor, and we got Bilal Muhammad or Alexander Pantoja. Are any of those guys, do you feel, maybe better than Merab or Sean after a win over each other? I feel like maybe Taporia, but I feel like Taporia doesn't have the resume of Merab, and he doesn't have the star appeal and the skill set of Sean. Sean just feels like it's such a next level elite striker. Nothing against Taporia, but I feel like top 3 they kind of have to be after if they get this win.
Maybe I mean I might put Aspinall above them. Aspinall or even Bilal Muhammad, I think makes a very good case. How long his unbeaten streak ran and what he did to Leon Edwards, but it's certainly not out of the question that whoever wins is top 3 pound for pound. That's not a ludicrous idea. But I do think it means something different if O'Malley wins. If Merab wins, we've got a bantamweight champion. We've got a new bantamweight champion. He's going to go do what bantamweight champions do, and that's fight other bantamweights and continue to rule over his division until someone stops him, right? O'Malley, on the other hand, if he beats Dvalishvili, and especially if he gets a highlight reel out of it, I think the UFC marketing machine gets a serious chubby, and they go to town with the ideas and the things that they can do with Sean O'Malley as far as cross-divisional matchups and marketing opportunities and whatnot, it becomes a different level of stardom if O'Malley gets an emphatic victory here.